There was a lot of fundamentals that my old coach was letting me make mistakes on, and so going back to the drawing board there, and I almost had to go backwards to go forwards in that sense, and to work on a lot of things, which has kind of been a process and a struggle. It kind of feels like I'm starting boxing over again with the fundamentals and basics, but it's fine.
All right, and then last question. Are you still planning on making your PFL debut this year, or is there any updates on the PFL situation?
We'll see what happens, man, but I'm focused on August 5th, and maybe once I knock Nate out, then he will fight me in the PFL.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jake. You've dealt with a lot of ups and downs in your life. How has dealing with a loss in boxing been different than anything you've ever experienced?
Yeah, man, it's definitely not something that was fun or easy, but I think it was good for me in the long run, and it made me a stronger man and built a stronger foundation. And it made me have to take a look at everything, and including myself, and reassess and to reconfirm my beliefs on what it is that I'm doing in this sport. And I learned a lot about myself, about my mental strength and what I'm capable of pulling through. And now it feels like I'm, even more mature in many ways because of the loss.
And, you got to see Nate Diaz face to face, stand up to him. What was that like? You sized him up. What are your thoughts now?
I mean, I think he's just underestimating me, man. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's ready for what I'm about to bring to the table. He's dealing with a more motivated fighter than I ever have been. I'm going to go in there and fuck this dude up. Like, I'm pissed off, and especially because everyone says he's this tough guy, the Stockton gangster, all this shit. And then he gets in person and is just like complimenting me, being all respectful, and doesn't really have shit to say. And even in the face-off, we start hand fighting and shit, and he just doesn't seem that fast. And I don't know, man. Like I'm just pissed off he didn't bring anything to the table. I thought this was going to be the fight where I didn't have to do all of the selling, and I would have an opponent that would bring something to the table.
Well, he surely brings a lot to the table. He's known for his incredible conditioning, his durability. He's pretty much been through it all in his career, seen it all. Why do you think he's beatable?
I think I'm just a better boxer, faster, stronger, better thinker, and he's going to walk into punches. He's going to be trying to come forward using that same style that he always does, and I'm just going to be able to pick him apart, working up and down and just throwing shots that he hasn't seen before in MMA.
And last one for me, in just 3 years, you've headlined pay-per-view shows for Showtime, ESPN, Triller, and now DAZN. You're kind of providing a blueprint in how a star can control their career and make the desirable fights and not have these affiliations. What is your overall message to the sport of boxing in following your blueprint to make the fights fans want to see?
Yeah, don't get locked up into long-term deals and figure out how you could be as independent as possible to best suit yourself and to best suit your career so that you could do what you want when you want. And it also helps you make more money, but you also have to be willing to bet on yourself, take risks, put it all on the line. I've funded some of my own events and put money up on the line. And so you have to be willing to risk that. And I think that's the future of the sport, is working with different media partners and not being tied in for too long of contracts. And that's my message and what I encourage other fighters to do.
Thank you, Jake.
Jake, I'm curious, was there a possible rematch with Tommy Fury in play before this, or did you always know that you wanted to go with Nate Diaz and know that the Tommy Fury fight will probably always be there for you?
Yeah, look, I wanted to go to Nate Diaz, and that was the plan leading up to the Tommy fight even. And I think Tommy is younger. That'll be out there for longer. But Nate Diaz, he was in the UFC, happened to get out. And so now is the time to strike and to make this big fight happen.
Now, today was a very strange press conference because Nate gets up and leaves in the middle of it. He says a few things. He thinks the fight is going 10 rounds. Do you think he's been in one too many fights, or is this just kind of who he is, a guy from Stockton who just kind of seems aloof sometimes as to what's going on?
No, yeah, I think it's just who he is. I feel like he's always been like this, always making jokes, making fun of himself, and just saying outlandish, crazy, bizarre shit. And I think that's what's made him big.
Now, Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia had a huge pay-per-view. They did 1.2 million buys. And it's a fight the fans wanted to see between two young fighters. This is a fight between two people that fans want to see, between you and Nate. How big do you think this pay-per-view will end up being for you?
Massive, the biggest one yet. Nate Diaz is bringing something to the table in terms of his name, his notoriety, and what he's accomplished in terms of pay-per-view buys that none of my other opponents have brought to the table. So I have a dance partner now that has maybe even more fight fans than me. So that to me is exciting, and I think we're on track, and the numbers are showing that this is going to be one of the biggest fights, definitely the biggest fight I've ever done. So I'm excited.
My last question, Jake, is when are you coming to Las Vegas? You fought pretty much everywhere, and it seems like Las Vegas would be a destination for you. Is that coming soon, or when can we expect a Jake Paul fight in Vegas?
Yeah, look, when I go for the World Championship and go for the belt, it should happen there. I love Las Vegas, and I've been wanting to bring a fight out there for sure.
Perfect, thanks.
Maya?
Yep, you're up, Jake.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was going. I'm sorry. Hey, Jake.
Hey.
Actually, I was have to ask Amanda Serrano a question first. She made a point to mention she's going to be training with you in Puerto Rico. Just your thoughts on being alongside, one of the GOATs.
I love it, and all things considered, this is amounting to probably be my best training camp that I've ever done, just in terms of my focus, the attitude, not having to travel all the time in the middle of the camps and doing all these other promotional events. We got stuff out of the way. I get to go in, lock in, and focus now. Amanda Serrano is going to be in the building. Other world champions are coming out, so I'm excited, and I'm stoked for Amanda to be a part of this event, and it's going to make it even bigger than it already is.
Definitely. And then you mentioned today that Shane is back in the mix now. Shane Mosley, obviously that's who I'm training with you. You said all three of them were aligned. It was Shane, Jay Leon. I forget the third name that you mentioned. My apologies.
Theo Chambers.
Thank you. And then you said they were all aligned in what they saw, things that slipped away. Can you elaborate on what was there in the beginning when Shane was in your camp as opposed to what you haven't been doing in your past few fights?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I still had so much to learn, so we couldn't have even gotten to that level of where he could have taught me those things that I'm working on now. But I got up to this level, was making certain mistakes, and now it's to a point where I can correct them and visit that. But at the beginning of boxing, it was learning how to just fucking jab and throw a punch. We couldn't work on the crazy, more advanced stuff, which is what this is. And so I'm excited to be going back to these advanced skills and different fundamentals that I kind of forego without knowing I was foregoing them, because my coaches didn't step up to the table and say anything about it, which obviously makes me frustrated, especially paying them all the money that I was paying them. But that happens, I guess, and I lost, and at least now I have the opportunity to correct these mistakes.
Okay, and then I wanted to ask too, Amanda, she always makes the points. Obviously, I'm very friendly with Amanda and with Jordan, and she says no matter what she's accomplished, Jordan is always there to call her a piece of shit and remind her, she needs to stay grounded. So are they going to be involved in your? I don't want to call it a comeback, but just I know you're kind of rebuilding. You're reinventing yourself here. Are they going to be involved at all in that process?
Yeah, for sure. I think as friends and as people who have been in the game at the highest level, it's good to be around that, and they're going to come on down to my gym and train with me throughout the camp. So to have that energy around is really awesome.
Definitely. And then finally, I know Shade's agreeing. She was looking for a title shot. The WBC screwed her. Is there any plans for her to be on the show?
Not at the moment, but we're trying to figure out that situation for her, and I'm sure it's going to get figured out.
All right, very cool. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you.